All right. Welcome to another episode of the MIA All Day podcast. I am your host, Carlos Ledo. Hopefully this microphone is picking everything up. If not, sorry, you're going to have to deal with some bad audio. Anyway, so this week we are flipping the script a little bit. Normally we come into the week and into the weekend and the game and we break down the opponent. Well, seeing that it's Middle Tennessee State, Canes are probably going to win this game easily. I felt it would be a waste of time to sort of go through Middle Tennessee State, give you a breakdown on them, because really there's not much to break down. There's information out there I can give you. There's schemes, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this is one of those games that, in sports and football, really, you're told a lot. When you're playing an opponent like this and you're expected to win and expected to win handily, you're not really playing the opponent. You're playing against yourself. And what does that mean? That means that you are going into this game, leading up into it, preparing yourself as best you can by fixing the things that need to get fixed, by correcting errors that you've committed over the past couple of weeks, by tightening up your scheme, by ensuring all the little details are taken care of going into this game, and basically working on yourself to be the best version of the Miami Hurricanes you can be coming into the game. Because at the end of the day, even if you're not the best version of the Miami Hurricanes, you're going to win this game. So what you want to do is compete against yourself and compete against what you've put on tape for the last few weeks, and show that you're making progress, that you are able to take in the information you've seen on film, break it down, and use that to improve, correct what needs correcting, and take that next step and evolve as a player and as a team. And I think that's what you're going to see this week. Schematically, if you want to listen to some of the stuff that very briefly that Middle Tennessee does, you want to go ahead and listen to Wide Right, the last episode with myself and Manny Navarro that we published this Monday. That would be, today is Thursday the 22nd. It's also early in the morning. I have just dropped my daughter off from school. Not sure why I need to tell you that, but the reason why I'm saying it is because the brain is still not functioning at 100%. I'm still drinking my coffee. No Diet Coke in the scene this time. It's straight coffee. Raw, I'm going to give it to you with no trivia. Raw like cocaine straight from Bolivia. Anyway, as I sip my coffee and spill some of my eyes, it pops up. The brain's not all there, but I'm doing my best, and I'm trying to get this out early because if I don't do it now, probably not going to get this episode out this week. So I wanted to do this. So one of the things that I want to do today, as I said, I didn't want to go into Middle Tennessee State. I think that'd be kind of boring. What I do want to do is self-scout the Hurricane offense a little bit and give you guys some information on the Canes coming off this disappointing loss against Texas A&M 17-9, which if you want to listen to my breakdown going into the game and see how I compared to how actually the game played out, feel free. That's the last episode before this one. I hit on a couple things. I think I hit on a lot of things that were going to end up happening in the game, and just schematic things that you might end up seeing, which ended up coming true. The one thing that really pissed me off that I missed on was I said if the Hurricanes rushed for 150 yards or more, and if they held Texas A&M to under 300 yards of offense, that they were going to win this game. Well, they did both, and they lost. But hey, listen, they did hold them under 300 yards, and they did rush for over 150. So, kudos to me for throwing that out there. Anyway, not the point. The point this week is I looked at Tyler Van Dyke, compared him to last year, just to see where the differences are, why he's not as sharp, and also looked at, some of the schematic things that you might be seeing from Josh Gattis moving forward, because I've taken his playbook from Michigan last year and found some wrinkles that he has yet to implement this season, but that play well with what he's been running so far. So it looks like it's something he's going to evolve to at some point here with the Hurricanes. All right, so let's take a look at TVD. All right, so here we go, sharing my screen with you guys, showing you a little Excel spreadsheet. Those of you that are on the audio only pod, no worries. I will be giving you the oral breakdown of what it is I've got on the screen here. So what I've got here is just some basic comparisons between Tyler Van Dyke in 2021 and Tyler Van Dyke in 2022. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got in 2022 so far, in just play action concepts, Tyler Van Dyke has a 62.1% completion percentage. Good, not great. That's on 29 pass attempts. But the key here is he's averaging 9.1 yards per attempt on play action. Okay. That is a big number. Let's compare that to last year. Last year, Tyler Van Dyke was completing 60.5% of his passes, roughly 2% or 1.5% less than this year on 119 attempts. And his yards per attempt were 10.9. So he's averaging 1.8 yards less on play action than he was last year. But that's a big number too. Why do I bring that up? Well, I believe that the play action concept or play action concepts are what's going to drive this offense forward, and it's going to drive Tyler Van Dyke and help him. And it's not necessarily just your regular play action, fake the run, read the field, and throw it. I think they need to incorporate more RPO stuff, which is in Josh Gattis' bag. I will show you that later. It's not the type of RPOs that we're used to with Rhett Lashley, but you're going to see different types of RPOs and things that Gattis can implement and incorporate in his system. So the non-play action, so what do you mean by no play action concepts? That means just straight dropbacks, essentially. This year, Tyler Van Dyke is completing 62.5%. Last year, he completed 62.8%. So you can see he's more accurate, over the last 2 years on play actions, although he's slightly more accurate this year, just up 4.4% on dropbacks than play action. But last year he was more comfortable using play action than he was. He was more comfortable with no play action, straight dropback, 62.8%, as opposed to play action. But the number that sticks out to me on both these straight dropback numbers is he loses, this season, basically 2 yards per attempt when he just straight dropbacks. That means he's getting more yardage on play action throws than on straight dropbacks. Same thing last year. Last year, he averaged 10.9 yards per attempt on play action throws, only 7.8 on straight dropbacks. Loses almost 3 yards or over 3 yards. So what does that mean to us? That means to me that Tyler Van Dyke is able to push the ball down the field further. He's able to get clearer windows down the field. He's able to see the field a little bit better off of play action because there's less congestion. There's more there's an easier picture for him to read through than when he's just straight dropping back and trying to read the field, and he gets stuck because he's used to on those play actions and RPOs reading one or two guys and then making a throw, as opposed to the straight drop back where now he's got to scan the field and try and find somebody, and that's where he ends up getting in trouble where he locks in on guys. The last one we have here is screen action. This year, Tyler Van Dyke is completing 90.9% of his screen action throws, which is basically 11 out of 12 on 12 attempts. Last year, on 62 attempts, he completed 89.9% of his screens. Now, that includes bubble screens, now screens, not just screens to the running back. So I think if you look at the numbers here, it is these screens are a very small percentage right now of Tyler Van Dyke's overall attempts. And I think that needs to increase. Why do I think that needs to increase? Well, right now, the offense is only attempting 12% of his pass attempts are screens, right? So only 12% of all pass attempts are screens in 2022 so far. Last year, compared to these numbers, the offense's percentage of attempts that were associated with screens or directly related to screens was 20%. Why do I think that's important? I think it's important for several reasons. And one I'm going to point out right now, if you look at those yards per attempt, right now on screens in 2022, they average 8.6 yards per attempt on screens. They averaged 7.4 last year. It's not just the yards per attempt, but if you're getting the same production from your screen game, and this is not a drop back, this is not included in the no play action, this is its own separate entity, right? Its own separate category. If you're getting basically 1.3 yards this season, more per attempt, and roughly the same thing last year on screens, bubbles, now screens, quick screens, halfback screens, that you are on the straight dropbacks, it makes sense to me to increase the screen game because, one, if you look at the section where it says pressures, total pressures, that's total PR there, under screen for 2022 says 0. 2021, 3, the entire season on screens. You're not getting the pressures, and you're not getting pressure in Tyler Van Dyke's face. You're not having him having to deal with guys in his face as he throws the ball. You're not having to deal with him. Look at another category here, throwaway. That's him throwing the ball away, needing to throw the ball away because of pressure. 0 this year, 0 last year on the screen game. So you're not having to deal with throwaways, so you're not losing it down, right? You're not having to just throw one into the sideline to avoid catastrophe and just play to live another down, right? Or live to play another down. You actually have the opportunity to make something happen on that screen. Excuse me. That hat category there, hit as he throws, again, zeros. Not being hit as he throws. You're getting the ball out quickly. If you look at time to throw, this season it's 1.42 seconds on screens, 1.64 last season on screens. So you're getting the ball out in under 2 seconds, really in a second and a half for the most part, which is quick action, allows you to get the ball out quick, doesn't let the defense affect you with their blitz package, their stunts, their movement up front. But more importantly, like I said, you are gaining more yardage this season on those screens and roughly the same last season than you are on straight dropbacks, which have the potential for more disaster and danger. If you look at the no play action category, the straight dropbacks, Tyler Van Dyke this season has had to throw the ball 3 times already. He's been pressured 15 times. He's been sacked all 4 times on those straight dropbacks. Okay, he's thrown 2 touchdowns and 1 pick on a straight dropback this season. All right, last season he had 61 pressures against him on dropbacks. He had to throw the ball away 6 times. He was hit as he threw 1 time. He got sacked 19 times last season on straight dropbacks. 15 touchdowns, 3 picks in that category. So another reason why I say the screen game is important is because what's one of the things that the Hurricanes are having issues with? They are having issues with, let me stop my share for a second. They're having issues with getting the ball down the field, right? They're trying to get the ball to the receivers. The receivers are getting separation. These guys aren't great right now at getting open on their own, right? So you have to scheme them open. Well, how do you scheme them open? You could run long, drawn-out concepts like we've seen with the out and ups, the crossing up. You could cross them in the middle of the field and use some action like that. But what are the defenses starting to do now? They're starting to drop 8 and make you read the defense. What does the screen game do when you drop 8? You've got 3 guys rushing. You got 8 guys dropping in coverage. When you hit them with quick screens and bubbles, you're making the defense come up and attack and play those quick game routes, right? You're making them play those screens and start to head downhill and essentially essentially run fits to try and get to the ball and stop it from advancing up the field. So as you're drawing the defense in and you're making them respect the screen, you can now play off those screens and get the ball down the field. You want to use concepts to try and draw the defense in so then you can hit them over the top, or make them play man so then you can cross them up and get guys free schematically that way. And I think using the screen game is going to help. Another way that the screen game helps Tyler Van Dyke is it's going to give him confidence. It's going to give him the ability to get into the flow of the game early on, to get him rolling, to get him loose, to get him feeling good and confident in his throws and get him loosened up. And that's important. You saw that happen against NC State. Against Virginia and North Carolina. Once they slowed the concepts down and gave him quick throws on the screens and stuff, he started rolling. NC State, he just came in and started bombing the shit out of people because he was confident from the week before. But that's something else. But I think Tyler Van Dyke feels comfortable when he gets settled into the game and starts hitting those RPOs and starts getting into the flow of the game and making it easier on himself by drawing the defense in with those screens. I think you saw the same thing with Brad Kyer and Mark Richt. When Mark Richt was running straight drop back stuff, just regular play action stuff, Kaya was struggling a little bit. But then as they shifted to using bubble screens, RPOs, things of that nature, and helping him with those concepts, then Kaya got rolling. So what's the other thing that they need to do, right? What are we talking about with in terms of other concepts that could help TVD? And we're going to look at RPOs. All right, back to the spreadsheet. So when I look at play action, I'm not just talking about, like I said, just straight, fake the running back, look down the field. We're talking about RPOs as well. And that helps TVD, as I said. If you looked at the yards per attempt, both last year and this season, he's able to push the ball further down the field. If you look at where it says average depth to TGT, that's average depth of target. What that means is how far he's throwing the ball down the field on average when he's targeting receivers. And if you look in 2022, it's clear 4 yards more on attempts off play action than on non-play action, on straight dropbacks. He's able to push the ball further down the field. 11.1 yards compared to 7.4. That's a big difference. Last year, still the same thing. Not as big of a difference, but roughly the same. 13.1 yards on play action targets, roughly how far he's throwing it down the field, as opposed to 9.3 yards on straight dropbacks. So to be able to push the ball down the field, to be able to get the ball moving and try and get some explosive plays, I think play action is required. I think it's going to be a staple, not just because of the basic stuff of drawing defenders in, putting them in conflict, but because you have a running game this year, because you're running the ball so well, you should be able to get bigger plays off of play action than last season, right? You should be able to push the ball further down the field. Right now, they have twice as many drop back attempts as they do play action attempts, and that's not going to work. All right. I know Josh Gattis probably came into the season figuring that maybe, hey, I've got a great quarterback. I can use this guy this way. I can have him just pick defenses apart on a straight drop back. I don't necessarily need to go play action. I'm just going to let him go to work. It's not working as well as he thought it would. I think against better competition, he's going to need that play action. He's going to need to rely on that run game as a staple, which he has in the past, and he will this season again, as a staple to play off of that, and then use the run to set up the pass where Tyler Van Dyke can then go to work off of play action. Last year, there was only an 11 attempt difference between play action and straight drop back. There was 130 straight drop back attempts by Tyler Van Dyke compared to 119 play action attempts, but that was a pretty close number. This year, the disparity is basically, there's twice as many dropbacks as opposed to play action, and that can't happen. I think your percentage should be 50% of your attempts should be coming from play action. Another 30% should be coming from straight drop back, 25 to 30% straight drop back, and then the remaining should be screens, quick screens, bubbles, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we should be doing with Tyler Van Dyke now, making it easier for him, with the RPOs and play action to cut down what he has to read and allowing him to just get rid of the ball quicker and be more decisive with his throws. So he knows what he's doing as opposed to dropping back, scanning the field, looking confused, and then, clutching and throwing it late. So we're going to look at something else now. I'm going to show you some of the RPOs that Michigan has used in the past. First, let me give you another little number nugget here. If you look to the bottom, last year, Charleston Rambo accounted for 27% of all targets. Mike Harley accounted for 18% of all targets. Combined, Harley and Rambo combined for 45% of all passing attempt targets last year. So that's a lot of production to lose. So you're trying to get guys to step up. Keyshawn Smith accounted for 14% of targets, but that's very little compared to Rambo and Harley together, right? And the rest of the guys were just single digits or close to single digits. Mallory might have been the next highest guy, like 12%, I think it was. Anyway, why do I mention that? I mentioned that, yes, you lost a lot of production last year at the receiver spot. Coming into the season, we knew receiver was going to be a problem. Why do I keep harping on this? Because it's not easy to replace 45% of your production, 45% of your targets in terms of what you're doing in the pass game. You had a replacement for Harley in Restrepo, but he's down now, and you haven't been able to find a replacement for Rambo. Thought maybe after Texas A&M, it might have been Jacoby George, but now he's out as well. So now guys have to step up. Can Keyshawn Smith play that Charleston Rambo role? I think for him, he's not great at beating defenders off the line of scrimmage. He's an okay route runner. I think to get him open, to take the top off the defense, because defenses are rotating over the top of him because they know he's a speed guy, get the play action going, and then you can hit him down the field. I think the other thing that you need to do is something that Josh Gattis had mentioned during the preseason, fall camp, and all that stuff. You see right here, move guys around. He talked about moving receivers around, not just playing guys outside all the time or in the slot. He hasn't moved the guys around. Right now, Frank Ladson and Keyshawn Smith have combined for 6 total snaps in the slot. That's not moving guys around. That's keeping them on the outside. So if you want to get guys open and give them different opportunities, get the ball in different spots around the field, and maybe get them open on crossing routes and moving routes to get big plays, explosive plays, then you got to move them around. And I think Ladson, especially Keyshawn Smith, should be playing a little bit in the slot to give guys give defenses something else to think about. Okay. What other numbers do I want to talk about here? I think it's interesting to see the time to throw numbers up there. It's a little bit longer to develop on our play actions, 3.24 seconds. That means that these play actions that we're running this year are more crossing routes, deeper routes, things to get shots down the field. If you look at last year's number on the play action, it was only 2.66 seconds to throw. That's because you're looking at more RPO, one read, quick bang throws. I think you need to mix the two and have a good combo of both to be able to be more effective offensively. So we will move on to the next category that I want to talk about. And that's essentially, what are some of the scheme things that Josh Gattis can do moving forward to help Tyler Van Dyke and help this offense? Well, and I'm going to grab it straight from Michigan. Okay, Michigan last year. Let's take a look. Okay, so here we have a little X's and O's look, my friends. And I'm sorry for those of you that are podcast only, audio only, not watching this on the YouTubes. But here we have essentially a scheme, a drawn up play of a specific RPO. And thanks to breakdownsports.blogspot.com, they're credited with this information. They're the ones that put it out there. They basically broke down some of Josh Gattis and Michigan's RPOs from last year and put up the play designs so you could see as a fan what essentially is going on. So in this schematic, what we basically have is a trips bunch to the left. So trips bunch meaning essentially three receivers to the left lined up in a bunch formation where one, it's kind of like a triangle, one to the top, two to the sides. One of them happens to be an H-back, which would be basically Arroyo or Will Mallory at 1 yard off the ball, 1 yard to the left of the left tackle. There is a shotgun formation. It's an offset pistol. So you don't have the running back lined up next to the quarterback or directly behind him. You have him sort of at an angle to his left. On the right side, you have a wide receiver split out all the way to the right. And then what they're running here is called weak counter, okay? And you've seen the Hurricanes run this a lot, where they will pull the backside guard, okay? They'll block everything down on the front side. They will pull the backside guard around to kick out the defensive end. They will bring that H-back, that tight end, around as well, across the formation to lead up in the hole and lead on the linebacker. We've run that a ton of times this year, and it's a great run action. And out of the bunch, what you're seeing here then in the RPO is you're seeing on the backside or on the bunch here, you're seeing a bubble screen attached to this weak counter action. And then you're seeing the guy at the top of the bunch, the X receiver, he's stalking down the field and blocking the corner in a zone coverage. The H is pulled around, as I said, and then the Z, the other slot, the other guy off the line of scrimmage, the other receiver in the bunch, will run a bubble screen. So what is a quarterback looking at? As the quarterback is going into his mesh action, meaning the handoff action with the running back, his eyes will be looking at the conflict defender, which is usually what's called the overhang defender, which is the guy who's just off the line, who's off the line of scrimmage in a linebacker kind of position, outside of the defensive end, basically a nickel or a linebacker at times, or even a safety. Right here, it's a nickel. So what is the quarterback looking for? As he's going through his mesh action here with the running back, if the nickel sticks his nose in it because he sees the pulls, right? He sees the H vacate and come around. He sees the X go downfield in a stalking motion, and his eyes are in the backfield. If he comes down inside, you're going to see him get RPO'd, which basically means if the quarterback sees him coming down inside, that means it's just one-on-one with the X blocking the corner, and Z catches that ball, and he's going to get about 7 to 8 yards before anybody comes near him. Because again, because of the run action, the Will linebacker is going to be filling. The Mike linebacker is going to be filling. The safety should be moving over the top and going down into his run fit as he sees that action. So it should be a big gain if that corner is blocked properly, which it's been a problem for the Hurricanes the last couple of years. It was a problem against Texas A&M. They are not great at blocking out on the perimeter on bubble screens and quick screens and things of that nature. Frank Ladson did a terrible job this past week. So did Will Mallory. That's something that needs to improve if this kind of stuff is going to work. But you can see how, although Josh Gattis is not running the same kind of RPOs as Rhett Lashley, he still has RPOs in his game that play perfectly with his run game. And why is that important? Because when you're running play action or you're running RPOs like this, you want everything to look the same every time. So the defense doesn't know what you're doing. So because you have the same run action and you're still available, you still have the run available. So if the quarterback doesn't like what he sees, if that nickel, shoots outside to cover the bubble screen, he can hand that ball inside, and it's just a regular run play for the running back. It's the same track, same action, same blocking scheme up front, and you've lost nothing, essentially. What you're trying to do with the RPO is catch that conflict defender in a spot where you can make a quick throw and get a big gain, because somebody has vacated an area or vacated the responsibility early, which allows you to take advantage of that. So because of that, because the run action all looks the same, and you've been handing it off here and multiple times running that action, eventually that guy's going to start creeping in to make a tackle, right? Eventually the safety is going to get over anxious and shoot down there into his run gap, run fit early to try and stop you. And what does that do? That opens up the big play. All right, let's take a look at another one. All right, so this one's going to look a little more familiar based on some of the action you've seen in games thus far by the Hurricanes. What you have here is a counter with what's called an orbit motion bubble RPO. So what does all that mean? Okay, so for those of you that are listening, we've got twins to the left, so two receivers to the left. We've got a tight end to the right. We have, with that tight end on the right side, a receiver off the line of scrimmage. So it's a 2-by-1 set with a tight end to the right side. Okay, running back is lined up to the quarterback's left, again in an offset pistol formation. And in this scenario, that wide receiver to the right side of the field that's off the line of scrimmage is going to motion in and then motion behind the quarterback and around. We've seen that done a couple times with Michael Redding, and a couple other guys. Brashard Smith, I believe, has run this kind of action too. And here what we've got is we've run this. So you've got the backside guard, or the guard away from the tight end, and the tackle away from the tight end on the left side, pulling around on the counter action. Okay, the same thing, blocking down on the front side with the Y, with the tight end, and blocking everything down, letting that guard and tackle come around to kick and lead through. Okay, quarterback is now again reading that overhang defender, which here would be the will linebacker. If the will starts to fill immediately, as he sees that guard and tackle pulling, he knows his counter, he's going to start coming over the top or trying to fill for the run action, and the defensive end starts to squeeze down the line to try and fill for that run action. Now you've got basically a free guy here on the RPO bubble. That means the safety is going to have to spin down and make the play. If he does spin down, then you're going to hand that ball off. So what you're basically looking for is here on this one, you're going to read the will and you're going to read the safety and see what they do. If the will starts into the run action, you're good. Okay, now you have to determine whether the safety is able to come down and make the play, or if he's following the action to be able to be in a position where he could to come down and make the play on the bubble off the orbit motion. Okay, and the reason you do that is because if this safety comes down hard, he's unblocked and he could just destroy that bubble for little to no gain. If the safety gets caught up in the run action, you hit that bubble, and these two guys on the perimeter are doing their job blocking, you're going to pick up 10 to 15 yards pretty quickly. And we've seen this work for the Hurricanes as well. So I think you're going to see that incorporated a little bit more. And then what's the other action you run off this? Once you do that, bang, bang, fake, you stock block, go, stop block, middle of the field. And now you've got a vertical passing game off the same action. So there's different things you can incorporate off the same RPO looks, right? So let's take a look at what else we can do here. All right. All right, here what we got is what's called a weak counter RPO, dragon RPO. So same concepts here as that we started off with the tight bunch to the left. We are still pulling with the H and the guard, the backside guard. This time though, the action is going to be, what's called this is more of a glance route. So you've got here Z pushing up the field and then banging inside on a quick short post, glance route, deep slant. The X, the top of the bunch, is going to delay a little bit and hit to the flat. And then you've got the same action on the run side. Same formation too with the running back and the offset pistol to the left. So what are we looking here? Again, we're looking for the will linebacker here and the nickel. So the nickel, depending on the coverage, should be flowing to the flat. The will linebacker should be filling or coming over the top with the run action. And if you have the will vacate and that nickel hit the flat, there's going to be a big window right here for the glance route to be hit in between the safety and the corner. And if the safety is reacting over the top, coming around to try and get to his run fit early, that could be a huge play. At the very least, it's a big gain, anywhere between 9 to 12 yards when you hit that glance route, okay? And something else the Hurricanes are probably going to incorporate. I've got one more I'm going to show you, and then I'll stop boring you to death with my my video breakdowns or my picture breakdowns of the RPO game. All right, here we've got a favorite concept of many college football coaches, a smash fade packaged into the counter now. So we see a lot of smash fades in college football and straight dropbacks or quick zone read actions. Here we have it out of a counter RPO action. So in this one, we've got two receivers wide to the left. We've got a person in the F slot, which is basically the H slot, which is 1 yard off the ball, 1 yard to the left of the left tackle. Again, running back is in the offset pistol to the left of the quarterback. And we have a wide receiver split to the right side of the field. Same run action where we've got the guard, backside guard, pulling around, and the essentially H, the F, pulling around as well. Here, the quarterback is, again, making that read and looking to see what happens here. If they got one high safety and that safety doesn't rotate over the top to where the fade is coming from on that slot receiver, if he sticks to the strong side of the field where the action is, where not strong side, but where the action is going to, the run action is going to, then you essentially have a one-on-one with the nickel. And if the nickel's peeking into that run action, you should be able to get the ball over the top on him and hit a big play. The backup to that is if the nickel runs with that fade route, here the X that is running a hitch will often hitch and move across the formation. So if the quarterback feels he could stick it on the slot fade, but he's wrong, he could always come back to the hitch underneath, okay? And again, we're doing the same thing run action-wise, trying to make everything look the same and then hit them with different looks over the top. So again, these are some of the things that I think Josh Gattis can incorporate moving forward, which I think he will at some point because this is his playbook, things that are taken directly from him, and help TVD by having him read less defenders, creating bigger windows through play action, incorporating the screen game to get him going, get him rolling, be more efficient, pick up yardage that way as well. Take advantage of the run game, that's been working so well by using those play actions, making everything look the same, and then trying to hit them over the top. I think the play action hasn't been set up well enough because a lot of times you're seeing, rather than using play action, it's a drop back. And when you do use the play action, you're trying to go further, vertical down the field or try and get deep, long developing routes where I think you need to incorporate the RPOs into the play action passing game to make it look the same as your run game and then hit quick RPOs off 1 or 2 man reads. And I think that'll help a lot because you've had the scoring reduced basically by half each game or more than half. So you started with 70 down to 30, down to 9. You don't want to see that trend continue. You want to turn it around and start doubling up the scores. So I think you're going to end up seeing that out of Josh Gattis. I think you're going to end up seeing that out of the Hurricane offense. I think TVD eventually will be more comfortable once Gattis breaks down film, looks at the numbers and sees what he does best or where he feels more comfortable. And I think that lies in the RPO play action game and screen game as opposed to just straight drop back game. All right. So there we have it. There's my breakdown. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll be back again next week. We will be having, or we should be having, a special event each week now moving forward with the Wide Right podcast. We may be doing, or we are probably doing, I don't like to say we are 100% because until it's done, it's not done, but we are likely going to be doing a live stream, Manny Navarro and myself with Wide Right at a local tap room and billiards place. We will announce it soon. The place is called, I'm going to announce it now, the name of the place, so you can go out there just in case, even if we don't do it, because it's a great spot in Miami Lakes. It's called The Garrison Tap Room and Billiards. It's right on Main Street in Miami Lakes. Manny and I should be doing our weekly game recap and looking forward to the next opponent on live stream from there, which will also go on YouTube once it's recorded. We're going to have, drink specials, lots of stuff for the fans. We'd love to see you guys out there once we get it going. More than likely going to get it going this Monday, if not the following Monday, but we will be announcing it via Manny's and myself's Twitter. The Garrison will be advertising it once we're good to go. And essentially we're going to be doing, 1 to 2 hours of the show from 6 to 8 or 6 to 7 live in front of the studio audience, if you will, at the Garrison. And basically not just doing our show, but hopefully interacting with fans, taking questions from the audience, and getting to meet some of you guys that have supported us for so long. So be on the lookout for that. All right. With that said, time to beat Middle Tennessee. Go Canes. Let's get it done this week, gentlemen. Let's wipe off the stink of the A&M loss, and let's get going. Go Canes.